Okay, overall, a pretty simple video coming up where I'm essentially going to run over this quick little slow-mo video that I airdropped to myself of myself setting up for bench press. And that is going to be the premise and the general topic of this YouTube video, where I'm just going to run through a quick tip that I give my roster and the athletes that I coach a lot of the time when they're having issues with hitting the rack on bench press. And I've yet to see it cause issues or, um, you know, not work essentially. This works for just about everyone, with the exception of those who don't know how to self unrack the bar. Um, so, with all of that said, this video is essentially going to be how to avoid hitting the rack on bench press. It's a really, really common thing that we will see for lifters where they will get set up too far under the bar, or they'll, self unrack incorrectly, or get a really bad handoff or something, and then they're too far under the J hooks, too far under the combo rack, whatever you're benching on, and they're just constantly chipping the rack on the way up. Uh, this is also assuming you're hitting the rack behind you and you're not hitting it off to one side, because we will also see that sometimes someone will descend with the bar and on the way down the bar gets caught on the J hook or something. This video isn't really going to cover that. This is more so going to cover the issue of when people actually hit the rack behind them on the way up from the bench, or on the way up from their rep, on the ascent of the movement. So, how do you stop hitting the rack on bench press? What I'll be talking about here is the timing of when you apply pressure into the bar with your elbows and your hands. And again, this whole video is assuming that you know how to self-unrack the bar on bench press. Really, really simple concept. There's plenty of content out there on how to do this. If you can unrack the bar on your own for bench press, then you're good. But that is kind of a given that you need to know how to do comfortably on heavy loads in order to implement what I'm going to be saying in this video. So like I said, how do you stop hitting the rack on bench press? It is through the timing of when you apply pressure into the bar with your elbows and your hands. So I'm going to run through this quick video, but there's nothing really associated with the visual other than giving you an example of what I'm talking about in real time. So you can see I'm self-unracking the bar with no issue. And yeah, it all comes down to the timing of when I'm applying the pressure into the bar with my elbows and my hands. So the mistake that a lot of people make is right here, where a lot of people, when they're trying to unrack the bar on bench press, is they will not start applying pressure until right now, this paused screenshot of this video. They will not start applying pressure into the bar with their elbows and their hands until they're ready to unrack the bar. Sure, they will slide back and they'll have their hands on the appropriate, at the appropriate grip width and what have you, but it's all coming down to the timing of pressure. So if we rewind, right now, for myself, and if, again, what I'm explaining in terms of how to avoid you hitting the rack, right now, this part, before you even start to push back with your legs and slide back in general, you should be applying pressure right now. Like, your hands should actively be pressing into the bar. A good tip that I like to, or a good way I like to explain this, is literally just think about extending the elbow, or applying the pressure through the elbow into the bar. That's going to get the pressure into the hands, and making sure that it gets done before the slide back process. So right here, I'm already applying pressure into the bar. So when I start to slide back, I'm going to be gradually increasing the amount of pressure that I'm applying into the bar. And then from there, it really just takes a little bit of extra pressure to actually pop it off the rack. So what needs to be done? Pretty much exactly that. I'm not trying to get people to literally unrack the bar before they slide back, but if you literally just start to slightly extend the elbow, once you get all your contact points set before you start to apply the pressure and slide back during setup, you should be good. And what that's going to do is, the way I like to phrase this to people is, what that's going to do is it's essentially going to shorten the distance you have to, or I guess a better way to put it is, decrease the amount of space and amount of room you have to wedge into the bar earlier on during setup. So again, if we look at this slow-mo, I'm already applying pressure into the bar before I slide back and before I unrack. So what that's going to do is, again, make my arms effectively longer in between the bar and the bench, and therefore giving me an earlier stopping point and an earlier wedging point. So inherently, without even needing to think about setting up further away from the bar, I am already doing so because I am shortening the distance and I'm eliminating how much space I actually have to get under the bar because again, my arms are effectively longer between the barbell and the bench. So that is really the tip I have for people to stop hitting the rack on bench. Now you might be asking, how does this differ from literally just trying not to set up as far under the bar? Well, the issue that a lot of people have is they will try to just literally set up further away, and from there they straight up cannot unrack the bar, or they get overly reliant on a liftoff, whatever. What should be happening here is you should not be pushing yourself too far away from the bar to the point of not being able to unrack it. You are going to find that it's more work for your legs to push yourself under the bar. And that's good because you will naturally come to a stopping point if you are wedging yourself up and creating that like equal and opposite reaction of the upward pressure into the bar with your elbows and the bar weighing you into the bench. So you might find that you will stop around here, and maybe in this screenshot here it's going to be challenging for me to unrack the bar because I'm not as under it. But if you are applying 100% force with your legs, and again, you're self-unracking within this setup properly, and you're managing just the general tension throughout the whole system, your legs should be able to kick your rib cage higher, therefore putting more of your body weight and your mass and your just body under the bar, therefore making it easier to do so. So what I'm trying to get at is this is effectively stopping the point at which your upper back effectively shortening the distance and how far your upper back actually slides back on the bench because you are applying that pressure a bit sooner, but it should not make the self-unrack process any more challenging because your legs and your rib cage are doing the rest of the work. And you can see I still have a little bit more room to push back here. So let's pause it right here. Again, unracking from right here, I'm not far under the bar enough, but you can see I'm hardly even sliding that much farther back, going from here to here. It's really just me pushing harder with my legs to get my hips and my rib cage a bit higher and therefore get more of my body weight under the bar, so it shouldn't be challenging to unrack. So that was a whole 8-minute yap on essentially me just saying, if you are having chronic rack hitting issues and you also don't rely on a handoff, which I think is a good thing if you don't rely on a handoff, but if you are constantly hitting the rack on bench behind you and you are not thinking about applying that upward pressure into the bar with your elbows in your hands the second you lay down on the bench before you slide back to unrack the bar in the first place, then there you go. There's your solution, in my opinion, and that is the first thing that you should do to effectively shorten the distance sooner on during that slide back and setup process between the bar and the bench with your body in between it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, I tell my roster to do this all the time. It resonates with them pretty well. I've essentially, gotten people to kind of have a better feel of what it feels to be stacked at the wrist and the elbow by doing this as well. I've never really found a downside. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or want to leave any thoughts on this entire concept, again, it's really, really simple stuff. And it's not revolutionary or innovative at all. This is pretty well-known concept. I just kind of like to run through it in my own words. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on anything, let me know. And I will see you at the next video.